There's a bill in South Carolina that's been filed by State Representative Bill Chumley, and it would prevent people who buy computers in South Carolina from accessing pornography on the internet. Now, how would this be done? Well, South Carolina would mandate that sellers of computers have to install digital blocking capabilities on computers, as well as other electronic devices that are internet connected, to prevent the viewing of so-called obscene content. Now, this story has nothing to do with your personal opinion about pornography. If we're talking about legal porn with of-age actors, this is the government, in this case, a state government, picking and choosing based on their present personal morals. It is arbitrary, it is capricious, it is censorship, period. Now, when you look at the bill, you could say, well, there's a way around it because both buyers and sellers can get around these blocking softwares for a fee. The bill would fine manufacturers if they sell a device without the system altogether, but they can opt out by paying $20 for each device that they sell. But also buyers have the opportunity to verify their age and pay $20 to remove the filter. So number one, we have a state mandated pre-installed ransomware being installed on computers, which is insane. And number two, if you're arguing that the porn is so damaging to society that it has to be banned, how do you simultaneously justify getting around the ban legally for $20? I mean, just none of this makes any sense.
And I keep hearing that conservatives are the small government types, right? It seems this is just their latest attempt to get in between people in their bedrooms.
But porn filters are notoriously fruitless. We saw this with Utah when they had the resolution ban on porn. Yeah. That didn't take any traction, and it was just perpetrated by the Mormon church.
It doesn't really matter how you attempt to do it. Obviously, people can get around it. You can also buy a computer online from a company that's not in your state. If you go, I mean, I'm not exactly sure where all Dell computers are made, but Dell, I believe, is at least based in Texas. If you buy a Dell on the internet and it's sent to you, my understanding based on how I read the bill is that you wouldn't be affected at all. If anything, this stands to just hurt the businesses of South Carolina. And Pat, you're making a good point, which is they claim small government, right? They have these memes they repeat like only rules, laws, and regulations that are absolutely necessary. How do you argue that this is absolutely necessary? But then when you do any more than a superficial analysis, if you're a small computer store in South Carolina, if they even still exist anymore, who even knows at this point, and you're hearing about this, there's a really big risk that people are going to, instead of shopping local, just go online and skip a computer that comes with pre-installed ransomware. I feel like they're not even thinking of how it will affect their local businesses in this particular case. I'd be furious if I was a South Carolina electronics store.
Yeah, it's all about optics, and it's a case of censorship and infringing on civil liberties, and the exact same thing they criticize liberals for doing.
And then, of course, big picture, with all the problems in the world, actually, you don't even really need to look around the world. With all the problems in South Carolina, disastrous education, terrible job situation, terrible healthcare situation, they're choosing to focus on the porn ban. So that's where I come full circle, Rachel, and say, oh, if they're choosing to focus on this, then it's probably because you can raise a lot of money from someone, I would guess religious conservatives, by playing I am the moral crusader. Is there maybe something to that?
I think so, but I feel like with the history on how these type of porn bans have done, it ends up as coming across as more of a statement than anything that will actually have a tangible change.
Absolutely, and completely authoritarian. And this is no different. If you want to make the case that if you're talking about underage child pornography or something like that, something that is actually illegal, you're talking about a very different situation. And regardless of your personal feelings about pornography, if this is content that is legal, you were talking about the government picking and choosing to censor certain types of speech. And I know that sometimes we hear, oh, political donations or speech, corporations or people. And there's pretty strong arguments to be made against that. There's really no strong argument to be made that legally produced porn with of-age actors, that limiting that is not an infringement on speech. It's absolutely a form of speech. You might not like the speech, but it is speech.
And there are reasonable restrictions on free speech that we have. You can't make threats against someone, for example, and
Sure.
everyone always goes to the example that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
Right.
This is just not one of those reasonable examples.
Not at all. And it's just absolutely laughable that a state that is in such trouble, I mean, really big trouble because of all the decisions that Republicans like Nikki Haley, for example, have made over the last who knows how many years, have really hurt that state. And they're focusing on porn bans that you can pay $20 to uninstall the ransomware that comes pre-installed. It is just laughable. Thanks for watching this video. Before you watch the next one, remember, we're raising money to expand the David Pakman Show Big League, as well as expand progressive activism. Go to davidpakman.com/donate. Donations of any size are much appreciated.